Let's hit it.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori La Bey, and I'm so excited that you're joining us today. We are going to have a fascinating conversation, as usual, as we learn from people all around the world at all ages and stages of life. Stay tuned as we shift our dementia care from crisis to comfort.
Here we go. What you think about, you will bring about.
Well, hi, everyone, and welcome back to Alzheimer Speaks Radio. I'm your host, Lori La Bey, and I am thrilled that you're joining us today. We're going to have a wonderful conversation, actually, with two friends of mine. I always refer to them as high school friends, but I knew them way before high school as well. So just hang tight with us. And I want to give a couple of shout outs to people. One is, if you enjoyed our opening music, it's called Clarion Call. And I so appreciate the Mark Arneson Band featuring My Adore, doing that song special for us. You can download that on any of your favorite music platforms if you want to. For those of you that are new to the show, we are about sound information, not just sound bites. We like to have real conversations with real people at all levels of the journey all around the world. And you might be our next guest. So if you think you've got a story to tell, please reach out to me at Lori, Lori, at alzheimerspeaks.com. And I'd love to hear your story and talk about being a guest on the show. I always have to thank our listeners. You guys, your likes, your clicks, your shares have gotten us known all around the world. And I just can't thank you and honor you enough. And I hope that you'll continue to do that with each and every one of our shows, because everybody's story, I believe, is important and can help another person in their journey. Now, like I said, today's conversation, we're going to be talking about caregiving and how these two ladies did it, taking care of family members. But I also want to do a couple of shout outs. One is Coro Health, CORO Health.com. And why they're important is during COVID, they're allowing people to download two of their music apps free. One is called Music First, and the other is called Coro Health. I always want to give a shout out to the Memory Cafe directory. And even though many of the cafes aren't meeting in person with COVID, there are several that are doing virtual. And I know I'm doing two in particular, one with Artist Way on the third Wednesday of each month at 1 o'clock. Central Time, and one with Arthur's Senior Living on the second and fourth Wednesday of each month at 1 o'clock. And we're just 3 meetings out of many that anybody around the world can join. So go to memorycafe.com and check that out. I also want you to look at Dementia Map. It is a new global resource directory that Dave Wiedrich, the founder of Memory Cafe, and I just launched. And our goal is to help everybody around the world get their resources out to the people in need. And last, I want to give a shout out to the Foot Bar Walker. So we're going to take a listen to them, and we'll be right back with our guests.
Introducing the life-changing Foot Bar Walker.
I'm Peggy from Danville, Kentucky, and I'm 91 years old. The Foot Bar Walker revolutionized my care of George. It absolutely benefits the patient and the caregiver both, and that's the beauty of it. It's so easy to use. It folds up just like a dream. I got it in and out of the car without any effort at all. The saving that I made from having to put him in a nursing home came to about $192,000.
Does someone you love use a walker? Do they struggle to get up from a seated position? Are you a caregiver dealing with physical pain and stress as you help your patient? The Foot Bar Walker was designed to assist not only the patient, but also the caregiver. Patients have more control standing up, and no lifting from the caregiver is required. See how it works at thefootbarwalker.com. That's thefootbarwalker.com. Peggy, would you recommend the Foot Bar Walker?
Do I ever? I would not be in the health that I'm in today at this age had it not been for the Foot Bar Walker.
So today I am really thankful to have two lifelong friends who are courageously going to share their stories, their journeys of hope and helping others on this path of caring. It's not an easy one. And we're going to hear probably some of the good, the bad, and the ugly, because that's the honesty of the journey. Marta Spencer is recently retired, and she was a bilingual financial counselor at one of our major hospitals here in the emergency room. And she would describe herself as just another daughter whose mother died from dementia in isolation during the COVID pandemic, which isn't a very good situation. And many people are still struggling with now. Personally, I know Marta and how she cared for her mom, and she wasn't just another daughter. I would describe her as an earth angel, one who took extraordinary care of her own mother. But there's a lot of earth angels out there that deserve for their stories to be told. And Bonnie took care of multiple people. And Bonnie Linder has spent her career as a software developer and trainer and in the management space, and has also retired. But she, like I said, has been on this journey for a long time. And taking on the role of caring for another is never easy. And multiple times, many people think when you get that role, when you've done it once, it gets easier over time. And there might be some truth to that, but everybody's journey is different, and every situation in your life changes. And we're going to talk about some of those things and hear about Bonnie's thoughts as well. So welcome, you two. I am just so honored to have both of you share your stories about your family members. And I think this is going to be a really, really important conversation. So thank you for, first of all, taking the time and being brave enough to step up and step out. I know that's not always an easy thing to do.
Thank you.
And if you get emotional, it's okay, because moi here will be right with you. And I think it's important for people to feel their feelings on this journey. And so I don't get too embarrassed about it anymore. I think it's real, and emotions hit you at different times. Sometimes you can speak really clearly and it doesn't bother you at all. And other times you can turn into a babbling bubble. So I want to first ask both of you, have you ever wanted to quit? Have you ever wanted to quit carrying on the journey? And Bonnie's head is shaking like a little puppy in your windshield there going. So why don't you take it first, Bonnie?
Well, like you had said earlier, I've taken care of multiple people that have had different types of dementia, and they've all been family members. And my dad passed away in October, and he had a little bit of dementia, but after he passed away, I ran away. I left. I was just like, it was the day after his funeral, and I just went, I'm done taking care of people. And my mom is still alive, and she's got pretty severe dementia. She knows she forgets, which is the hardest part. But yeah, I ran away, and you know what? I didn't feel bad about it.
No.
And I think that was because of the journey I've been on. You know, Lori, you just said that some people think that would be a bad thing and would feel guilty about it. And I think because I had done it for so long and with different people, I was okay with running away, because I personally needed it.
Well, and that in itself is a huge realization. And I know for me, yeah. I didn't look at the whole self-care thing. You know, I would come off like I was in control and everything was fine. And my brothers thought everything was cool. And then I would go, when everybody would leave my house, I would go in the basement and scream because I just had to get it out of me because I was so frustrated. And so, you know, again, everybody's journey is a little bit different. And everyone else thought, she's got it. She doesn't need any help. What's going on? Even though I was asking for it, they just thought, she's doing fine. She's doing fine. But I didn't want to show that side to anybody. And I didn't realize I was a kind of a sinking ship.
It's really important to show that side because your other family members need to see that too. And I'll tell you, I have two sisters, and we've seen the ugly side of each other, and we've seen the good side of each other. Like any family and any sisters that they argue, but because we've all gone through that part of it.
It's really important. Marta, how about you? Did you ever want to quit your journey?
I did, but I thought, you know what, considering it, that she wouldn't be alive, then I thought, nope, this is what I do. And I'm not a parent. And so I've never had children. I had nephews that I babysat, but I never knew what it was like to have a child. And having mom with advanced dementia was like having a toddler. And that's how I had to look at her. I don't mean that with any disrespect at all, but I went into her world whenever I was with her. And so if I would just immerse myself in her life that way, then it would be okay. Because you learn, it was a learning process. How much can you say? Well, don't you remember so-and-so? Or after a while, she didn't know my name. She didn't know that I was her daughter. And so then I would just have to say, okay, well, then we're just going to talk about small little subjects, not go into politics or any of that, where she'd been really big, and just go with it. And I wasn't asking anyone for help at all. I mean, Lori, you were there with me for a lot of it. But I'm lucky. I don't know if lucky is the word. My boyfriend's mom has Alzheimer's. And so he and I can bounce off each other. And now I can help him because his mom's 10 years younger, but getting bad. Whatever I've learned, I can pass on.
I think it's important for people to know the thought of quitting, or I just can't handle this, or I'm losing this is kind of normal. But, you know, ask yourself, how many times have you said that in your own life before dementia hit too? You've had circumstances. Yeah. And so this is just another thing we have to kind of adapt our way through. But it really helps when you have someone who understands, you know, like your boyfriend or Bonnie with family. And I know with my family, they didn't always understand. A lot of the times I had two brothers, and they looked at me like I was like a whack attack sometimes, thinking, Mom's fine. What are you talking about? You know, we'll stay with her more than 5 minutes, you know, and you'll see something a little bit different. But, you know,
I wasn't reading up on it either. I had no idea what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I should have been using Alzheimer Speaks as my, you know, go-to, but no, I was stubborn because I was in denial. I didn't want to admit as far as advanced as she was. And then you could see changes. And then my brother died 3 years ago. So having a mother with dementia and a brother who's in the hospital in intensive care for 9 weeks, I was doing both of those at the same time. And I was speaking for him because he was intubated and sedated. Luckily, he was at the hospital where I worked, so I could be there and visit him 4 or 5 times a day. But I had to make all the decisions for him. And finally, my other brother and I had to decide, once they said nothing else could be done, then to get my mother there and try to explain to her that he's going to die, you know, and watching his feet turn blue under the blanket as I'm talking to her and keeping her entertained as we're going to a meeting to decide a care plan, you know, and then she luckily got to say goodbye to him. But, you know, towards the end, she, as I said, she didn't know who I was or that she had a husband. I don't know, Lori, with your case, or Bonnie with your dad's case, she had no long-term memory nor short-term memory. So she had no memories of anything, but her face would light up when I would come. So that's good.
Yep.
So,
you know, I noticed that same thing, Marta, with my mother-in-law. She was the first experience I had with Alzheimer's, and she wouldn't know us, but man, you knew in those eyes when she looked at you, you could tell that there was love in the eyes.
Oh yeah.
It was there, and you could feel the warmth and the love, and that was what I held on to all the time.
Yeah, and even staff mentioned it to me. They said, we know as whenever you're going to show up that she's just going to light up. That's just how it is with when I came. And that's, yeah, exactly. That's what warmed your heart. And that's what kept me going.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I was only seeing her once a week. She was in a memory care unit. And luckily, she was on the first floor, so I could have a window visit. But when the pandemic started, I was there once a week, bringing her flowers, visiting, hugging her, helping her take a shower, doing her hair, just being there. And then to go from that to everybody wearing a mask, try to explain that to a dementia patient. Think about that.
I know. That was, yeah.
And, and then, here I go. See, when I don't talk about it, I do really well. But watching her deteriorate every week because of this, I won't even say the word, damn pandemic, and the isolation is what really advanced her dementia. Because in these memory care units, they took all the chairs away in the common areas. They confined them to their apartments. I won't say confined, that sounds really bad, but basically they were. She was a loner anyway, but to not have meals out in the common area, here's your meal, then they'd walk out. They wouldn't sit with them. Food is, you got to eat with somebody. That's how it is. And it's a social thing. And so they're not getting the socialization. And the staff did the best they could in that situation. Nobody planned for something like that to happen. And I don't hold anything against them, but to see her deteriorate is what really,
Yep. I see the same thing too with my mom, and she's in memory care. And I the other day, my tears came the other day when I was watching the FedEx airplanes being loaded up with this vaccine, and the trucks going. I all of a sudden it lost it. I just sat here and cried like a baby because I'm like, because I know my mom's where her care facility is on the list for one of the next couple weeks.
Oh, good. She here in the city?
Yeah. So I'm like, Thank you, Lord, for doing this, because then I can take her somewhere. Yeah. I can get her out of those four walls that she has been in.
Yep.
For almost a year.
Is she watching TV?
A little bit.
My mom stopped the day she moved in, and she'd been watching it all day, every day, because she couldn't remember how to turn the TV off and turn it on.
Yeah.
And I came once and it was unplugged, and I thought, who the heck did this? Oh, she did it because she didn't know how to turn it off.
Yeah.
And it wasn't worth trying to explain to her because she wouldn't remember.
Right.
So I don't know. She puttered around a lot and moved things around. And it sounds so silly, but that was a little game I played every Saturday. It's like, where did she put her comb this week?
You know what? That reminds me, like I wrote down some things for me. And that's one of them, is you have to find the humor. You have to find some humor. And it's like so important. I remember when my mother-in-law, she would always ask my kids how old you are. And they would tell her the right number, and then they would tell her, and then 2 seconds later, she'd ask the same question again, how old are you? And then sometimes they'd say, if they were 13, they'd say, okay, I'm 13. The next time, I'm 34. Oh. And then the next time, I'm 6. Oh. And it was just like, we laughed, but you have to find the humor because it's so dang sad.
It is. It tears you up. We would have, my boyfriend and I would go every Saturday night and have dinner with her. And she was at the place right across from the fire station on Lexington, Rose Creek Point or whatever it's called. Doesn't matter. But they'd always serve a dinner roll with the meal, and she'd want to take that roll back with her to the room. And I gave up saying, Mom, it's going to dry out. You're going to forget where you put it. Just let her have it. And she was left-handed, and she'd have it in her left hand, and she would not let go of that sucker for anything and eat her meal. And it was hilarious. And it wasn't, but it was sweet, Yeah. And it made her happy. And anything I could do to make her happy, that's what I did. Bought her new shoes, went to Savers and got her new sweats, whatever I could do. And that's what we do for our moms.
Yeah.
or dads.
So that reminds me of, I just bought my mom some new outfits, because when you get into these memory care areas, you're not as active as you once were. And so my mom kind of was gaining weight. So I went and bought her a little size bigger. Well, she couldn't figure out, for some reason, she can remember what size she was. She can't remember, nothing, but she can remember that she used to be a size 8 and now she's a 14. And it's like, and so she said, well, what size is that? And I go, it's a 14. And she goes, I don't wear that.
Oh, you should cut the tags out.
And then that got to be funny for us, but then she didn't know where those clothes came from.
Whose are they?
They weren't familiar.
Yeah.
She knew the old clothes, not the new clothes. And it's like, so that took a while. Finally, we just took scissors and we cut all the tags off, and we just told her they were a size 8.
Oh, that's so funny.
My mom got to the point where she didn't want any clothes in her closet unless they were red or pink. I had to get rid of everything because it was just, I don't wear that. I don't wear that. I don't wear that. And so one day I was going through her closet and I was weeding everything out. And it would happen to be and she was living in a nursing home, and we were bombing Iraq at the time, and the TV was on. And all of a sudden she's just starts bawling. And I'm like, Mom, you want the clothes? I'll put them back. I'll put them back. It's fine with me. I don't care what you wear. No. And I couldn't figure out what was bugging her. And then I realized it was what was on TV. And in her mind, that attack was happening right outside the building.
Oh,
and it just brought such fear to her. I turned that TV off and she had a smile on her face instantly. And we went on with what we were doing. So much of what the two of you are talking about are, the real little intimate moments, like you're talking about the glint in the eye, or the subtle little giggle, the funny things that happen. Those are the things that we remember about everybody. Yep. And yet when someone has dementia and we're told that maybe they have memory loss, we get kind of on our high horses a lot and go, no, that's not right. We're not going to the doctor on Tuesday, we're going on Thursday, or the story went like this, or what's my name? And we like try to force it because we've been told this is what we should expect. And we fight that. And what you two, are talking, what you're doing is that you've learned to let go and just really, really be in the moment. And I think that's one of the biggest gifts that anybody can not only give to the person with dementia, but give to themselves. To learn to live in the moment is brilliant.
I think that, and also my advice to other people would be, you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. Because you're going to have to do things that you're not comfortable with. And it started with my mother-in-law with Alzheimer's when she was first diagnosed. She got lost and she called me from the gas station on Hamlin and County Road B. And they said, your mother-in-law is here. And I went and picked her up, and she was so upset because she didn't know where she was. That was the first thing. And so she came and lived with us for a little bit until we could find somewhere for her. And I remember I had to give her a bath. And that was my first stepping out of my comfort zone. And then the second thing was when my brother-in-law, my sister and my brother-in-law moved in with us. He had Lewy Body's dementia. And it was about 4 months before he passed away. And they moved in. And my sister needed a break from that. And I remember he was wearing Depends, but he needed to be changed. So that's where the comfort zone and the humor come in, because I still remember this. Like, I covered him up and I said, okay, do not under any circumstances move that blanket, because I am not looking at your junk. And, I laugh, and we've laughed about that so many times, but it's like, he's my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, but he needed help getting himself changed, and it is what it is, and you just do it. Same with my dad, when he was changing him. So with my dad and my mom, right after her stroke, I remember, she messed her pants and there was nobody else to clean her up. She was paralyzed and she needed help. And it's like, like Marta says, you're taking care of a child. And, that was out of that comfort zone. I'm just like, now it's like second nature. It's like, okay, I never thought I could be a nurse, but apparently I do have some of those skills now.
Well, when you were talking about your mom messing herself, my mom did that in a movie theater. And
Oh God.
But we turned it into one of the funniest things ever, because I mean you're so embarrassed, and she got up and it was wet and we thought, oh, she's spilt. And then my brother, who usually didn't do stuff with us, he was with us, and he's like, what's that smell? And then we thought, oh, she's passing gas. And then it was like, oh, she didn't pass gas.
Really passing.
Way worse than that. So we had to kind of sit still till everybody left, and then, flag over staff to let them know what they're dealing with, and ask for a trash bag. And we remember we scooted her outside into the car with the windows rolled down. Because the smell was just atrocious. I tried to clean her up in the bathroom. It just wasn't going to work. And we remember dropping her off at the nursing home and telling them, and we laughed. I mean, because you either laugh or you just cry. But it was one of those moments that as a family, we all had to come together to make it work the best we could. And the nice thing with mom in the stage she was in is she didn't feel like we were laughing, at her at all. And she just joined in the laughter, and that made her calm. And so it wasn't an embarrassment type thing. Mm-hmm. And I know so often people give up the laughter because they like think it's disrespectful. But you can't judge that.
No.
And I think too, Lori, knowing your mom for as many years as I have known her, which is funny because I told my mom I was going to do this, and I didn't go into a lot of detail, but she remembered both of you guys from Girl Scouts. Wow. And your mom. So, but your mom was so funny. And that's the good part, because she can still laugh, and I think humor is a better memory than sadness.
Yeah. Another time we were up at the cabin and it was winter, and she slipped in the foyer and she fell. And so my daughter and I are trying to get my mom up. My husband's unloading and he comes in and he's like, he was all upset. Oh no, we got to get Dorothy up. We got to get her up. And we're like, we're trying. But the three of us were laughing so much because my mom was a big woman. She's laying on the floor and she's on this rug and she can't like sit up or push herself up. None of that. So I'm like, Mom, can you bend her knee? And she goes, okay. And she wiggles her finger. Well, Danielle and I just lost it at that point. And Tom was like, it's not funny. We got to get her up. So then we're trying to like lift the rug and like roll her over. And we couldn't do that. Finally, we ended up pushing the rug up against the closet, getting her feet square. Tom and I got behind her and we lifted her, one on each shoulder. And then I'm telling Danielle, kick her knees, because her feet were just straight, against the door. And we needed her feet to drop to the floor. Right. Oh my gosh. All four of us, we were just splitting the gut on that one, but she wasn't scared. She wasn't embarrassed. And, you just have to work through it to get whatever needs to be done. And I mean, those are, both of those memories, they're not sad for me. They're not, disgusting for me. They're like, that was really funny, because if that happened to anybody who was well, you would be split in the guts.
Yeah.
Or mortified.
Yeah.
And I think Sue too, like for my mom right now, she can't remember that my dad passed.
Yeah.
And so every time she calls, she'll ask, how is your dad doing? So she must think he's in the hospital or something, or I can't get a hold of your dad. And so you go through the whole thing, but I have found that when I'm having these conversations with her, I've learned now how to take a right turn and get her laughing about something.
Yep.
And then she forgets about it. And then right before I hang up, she goes, now, have you talked to your dad? And so they're like, oh, okay, we're going to start this all over again. But, you know, it's like I said, I put some bullet points together for myself to always look at it, to remind me that humor was number one on my list, and accepting that you're not going to fix it. There's no way you're going to fix what they have, and get out of your comfort zone, and you got to have a lot of patience. And I think those are the top four that I always refer back to, because I think about them every time I talk to her or I go to visit. You know, my mom and I laughed the other day. I bought her, it's like an MP3 player that looks like a radio, sort of, but it's got this button that's probably 4 inches by 2.5 inches, and with these large letters that say on, off. And so I showed it to her, and I said, I loaded it up with a bunch of music that she liked from the 40s, and Robert Goulet was her favorite. And so I got all these tunes on there. And so I told her, I said, all I got to do, Mom, is push this button. She looked at that button. She goes, well, it's large enough. I should be able to figure that out. And I was like, yep.
Well, that's wonderful.
Then she laughed about it. I'm like, yep. So I don't know if she's played it again. She probably forgets that she has it there, but.
Well, in technology and the products that people come up to try to help that whole process are really, really important there. Let's talk a little bit about family relationships, and did your relationship with your family members change? And Marta, I'm going to let you go first.
Well, as I said, my middle brother died 3 years ago, and so he's obviously out of the picture. I have a younger brother. He and I are 4 years apart. I'm the oldest, so we were never really close anyway. And as in many families, he has his wife and his kids and his business and his life. So he was there to make big financial decisions, and he's the one that said, hey, it's time to put her in a memory care unit. And he and his wife took care of that, where I'm the emotional one. He's not. So I'm a Libra, so I've got to be balanced. So he balanced me that way. And when I needed him, he was there. But I wasn't asking him for anything. I was saying, hey, this is what's going on. And I'm the one that visited every week. He did not. But he's the one that moved her in. He's the one that moved her out. He was there with me when she was dying. They very kindly let us inside the memory care unit in June when she died. I was there with her. We were both on her bed with her when she died. So that I can't thank them enough for that. But nothing has changed between us. We're still, I know he's there if I need him, and he's there if I'm there if he needs me, but nothing has changed that way. And I was hoping it would bring us closer together, but I feel like an orphan, to be honest.
Yeah.
But you have us, Marta.
I know. And I have my Instagram friends and my friends on Facebook, and I live alone. So here goes. Sorry. For all of you out there who have lost someone this year, we all have a really, I think of the three things the top three things for me this year. I started to work from home. My mother died, and I retired. And that's a lot to have happen in a year amongst everything else. But for those of you that have lost someone, I feel for you, because we never had a funeral because of the pandemic. I've not been able to hug anybody. I've mourned basically by myself. And that's been really hard. So I watch a lot of TV. I don't know if that's the right answer, but so I'm thankful to Lori and to Bonnie that we can talk about this, because not everyone I know has this in common. And we all, people check in on you, but nobody checks in on me anymore to say, hey, well, Lori does. I lied. Lori does. But how are things going? So I don't bring it up, and I probably should. So I feel for you out there in radio, internet land, wherever you are. We're all in this together.
Yep, that's for sure. And there's a lot of people that are alone dealing with this. How about you, Bonnie?
Well, I can relate to a lot of what Marta just said. I have 2 sisters, so there's 3 girls. And I think, there's always power struggles. I'm not really the emotional one in my family. I
not either.
Yeah, I'm more like your brother. I take care of all of my mom. I took care of all my mom and dad's finances and like all the paperwork and power of attorney and executor and all that kind of stuff. And I will say, with 3 girls who a lot of each one wants to be in charge, there's some very ugly conversations.
Ooh.
And then you just you have to chalk it up to family. And then there's been some really good conversations. So I think sometimes you have to go, okay, I've had it. I reached the end of my rope, and my sisters each have reached the end of theirs. And when they do, who do you take it out on? People you love, your family. Yeah. So we've all taken our turn with that. And my advice to other people would be, when someone does that in your family, let it go in one ear and out the other, because you're all going to be better off for it. Don't let it rip you apart. Don't. And I guess one of the things I've learned is try not to argue back, even though I haven't practiced that all the time. It's important to have that family there, because I wouldn't have been able to run away, like I said, and come back, and unless my sister was there to be with my mom. So she was there with my mom, and then I got to that point that it was like, I'm ready now. I'm ready. I can come back and take care of mom again. And my sister was at that point that she goes, I need to run away now. And so she's, moving, doing her thing now, and I'm taking my mom. So taking those turns, I think, are important, and what you do. But, don't let this rip your family apart. It can, and I've seen it happen in families. I think we've just been blessed that we're able to let it roll off a little bit off of our backs.
I know for my family, it's definitely affected. Once we lost my dad, and then we kind of went through all that mourning. That was back in 2001. And I remember sharing stories, because I was going to write a book. I still haven't written the book, but I have all these stories like we've been talking about, that, make you laugh, but teach a lesson at the same time about letting go and being present and whatever it might be. And I remember my older brother, Mark, saying, well, where'd you get the stories? And I just thought, well, what a goofy question. I was there, and that's what I came back with. I'm like, well, I was there.
Where were you?
He's like, no, really, where'd you get the stories? And I'm like, Mark, these all happened. And then this like sadness fell over me, because I was always trying to get them to step up more and do more and I guess be like me more. And I just felt this sadness, thinking, oh my gosh, they don't have any of this. They don't have any of these memories. But
that's on them.
I know, but but it changed me from that moment forward. And then we ended up getting into a deeper discussion of, because I think I said something like, oh my gosh, you don't have these memories because you guys really weren't around that much. And I didn't say it to be, make them feel guilty, but I was just really sad that they lost out. And that's something that you can't recapture, especially when someone's died. Now my mom was still alive and they could have stepped up, and I was hoping that would happen. And then we had this conversation of why they didn't. And they said, well, you had things under control. And I said, well, you can always use help. Well, you made it look so easy. And I said, well, you wanted it to look easy. And that you didn't really want to know what truly was going on because you didn't want to feel the loss. Let's kind of be honest here. And then they said something really important. They said, well, Lori, you're kind of a control freak. And I'm like, no, I am organized. That's why everybody comes to me. I am organized. I am not a control freak. No, Lori, you really kind of are. And I had to take a serious look at that going, how could anyone perceive me to be a control freak? And then I looked in the mirror and go, well, pretty easy, I guess, from the outside looking in.
That mirror doesn't lie too much, does it?
And,
Nope.
And so that was really important for me, because then I realized that, I didn't want them to just come and visit and, pick up a pizza or a McDonald's. I wanted them to kind of cook and have a conversation and have the smells and the ambiance for mom and dad to feel like home, and that wasn't their comfort level. And it really made me realize that, nobody wants to be stuck with somebody 24/7, not a person with dementia, not a person caring for a person with dementia. We all need our freedoms, but we all have the right to still be who we are. And we have to learn to appreciate what everyone brings to the table. And their relationship never was that with my folks. So why should it be now?
Yeah, they're sons, first of all.
Yep. And so
you got the son-mother and you got the mother-daughter relationship.
Yep. And so, I thought we changed it. I thought they'd be around more, but things didn't really change significantly, with the whole caring role. And that I finally let go of, because for many years, I don't know if you guys did this, but I worked really hard at trying to change them and trying to make them be more like me. And I didn't even know I was doing that, but when I made the conscious decision of that's their choice, I had a lot more time to spend, mentally, physically, emotionally in the space with my mom. Right. Versus putting energy towards that. And that was a huge moment for me.
It was important that I felt, and I'm exactly what you're saying is it was important for me because I kept feeling, all this negative energy towards my brother because he wasn't spending the time, knowing he was busy, but he could have made the time. But I thought, you know what? That's on you, my friend. I'm going to be the one making memories, and I'm going to have good memories and bad memories, but it's me. And this is one way I'm taking care of her, but I'm taking care of me too, because I am able to spend that time with her. And I'm glad I did it.
Good point. It is about taking care of us, and who are we at our heart? What makes sense for us? And when we get into, I see a lot of families when they're trying to sort out the different tasks. And I'll never forget one, woman was supposed to give her dad a shower, and she's like, I am just not comfortable with that. And another where a son was supposed to bathe their mom, and they're like, I can do just about anything, but I can't do that. We have to respect that. Or someone who's given finances, and they're like, I'm the last person you want to give finances to, or be in charge of whatever it is. We have to honor who everybody is, right, and what their comfort level is, because if they're not comfortable doing that task, it's going to be a rollerball effect with that whole situation. And sometimes we get, I think, so task oriented, we forget about the emotional side. And the emotional side, to me, makes or breaks this whole experience.
Yeah.
In terms
that's
of
the gift that I could give to her, was the emotional side.
One of the really good memories I have is the place that my mom and dad were living opened up to essential caregivers, so you could go in, and you sign up and you get an hour, 2 hours, twice a week.
Nice.
So it happened to come in September, and my mom and dad were celebrating their 72nd wedding anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
72 years of being married.
How old were they when they got married, Bonnie?
Well, they were 1948, 10, 23 maybe.
Okay. Man.
Yeah. So anyways, I made them a special table for their dinner. They were eating in the dining room, but I got a tablecloth and flowers, and I made their table beautiful just because they always went out for dinner on their anniversary, and this year they couldn't. And that I can't even tell you how glad I am that I did that.
Wow.
Because a month later my dad passed. So and then now I'm going to go see my mom on Sunday. I have signed up to go see her. Isn't that something, you have to sign up to see your mother? I'm gonna bring some cookies, and she can decorate them. Great. Even though she takes her Christmas decorations down, and then we have to put them all back up again because it's not Christmas yet. She just keeps thinking it's over. It's like, no, it hasn't happened yet. So we're gonna do that with her, and those are building those memories. Because like I said, I'm not the real emotional side. I'm kind of cut and dry, black and white. And but I do have a creative side, so that's why trying to find these fun things to do with them. And she loves puzzles, but she can't do them by herself. So sitting down and doing that with her, those are all those building of memories. And
what about coloring? Have you tried to color with her?
With her, you can do that, but she won't do it by herself.
No, we did
all
that.
Of those things, which is
fun.
Which is kind of what you guys were talking about with brothers. I don't have any brothers, so I can tell you I raised 2 boys, but I could tell you that those are the things they could do for people out there who men are, if they want to spend time with their parent, but they're not sure what to do when they get there. Those are the things that they should do with them.
Yeah, because you can't talk about memories.
No.
So don't dwell in the past. Do right in the moment. Every 2 weeks I would bring mom flowers. I would go to the grocery store and get 2 big bouquets and combine them together. And I would cut them all off, with the scissors under the water. It was a ritual. And then she would stand there with the vase, and I'd make her place them in the vase.
Yeah.
And well, should I put it here, Mom? You decide. You do that. You know where it goes best. And that was the thing we did. And then they would last for 2 weeks. Of course, they would never get watered. But I put lots of that powder in there. and that was the thing. But we could do that together. And when you're talking about bathing, I never thought I would be helping my mom take a shower, but she wouldn't shower. She didn't want to get cold. I get it. And so I would just kind of have to badger with her and bribe her. And I would bring her candy and snacks. So she had those in her cabinet, but it was hell giving her a shower. I'm telling you right now. Yeah. And every day when I take a shower, the last thing I want to think of is my mother when I'm in the shower, but I do because it was awful. But then, as soon as the water turns off, I'm cold. So I would have the towel around her shoulders, on her hair. I mean, we had a ritual. But then the upside is then I would do her hair. And her hair was about your length, Bonnie. And I'd never used a blow dryer in my life. As you can see, I've got naturally messy hair. And I learned to use a blow dryer so I could do her hair.
Yeah.
And so
I just got done cutting my mom's hair.
Yep.
Yep. That's what I did.
Learning how to do her hair like that.
Well,
so that's a little thing.
And part of it is teaching people concepts of showering and grooming and stuff. Like if the room can be heated, even if there's like a little heater in there, or music or lighting or aromatherapy, getting the water warm ahead of time,
steaming up the room,
starting at the feet and going
have the
up.
towels ready.
Yep. Or heated towel bars, heated floors, if you're able to, all of those types of things make the journey really, really important.
I have a question about that. So did either one of you ever use those walk-in tubs?
No.
So my mom tried it one time, and this is something good for people to know. My mom was not a swimmer. Just really didn't care for the water, but she did like taking baths. So we thought, oh, she would love this. We'll get her a walk-in tub. Well, what happened is it started filling up and she completely freaked out. So they had to drain it really fast. And that was a very scary moment for her. So
never tried it for that reason.
So yeah. So, people are going to be different about that, but that's just, again, one of those things you'd never think of.
No.
But think of it, a bathtub is a bathtub is a bathtub.
Right.
But to her, it was not. And
well, you're confined and you're in a small little space and to piggyback off of that, I and maybe you guys had this experience too. My mom didn't like anything tight around her waist. I mean, they all have that paunch because things settle. Now I'm going just past menopause. Things have settled differently too. But she didn't like anything tight. And so I would have to find her where she was a very small woman, like a size large, to get around her waist, elastic waistband, but even a seatbelt. Oh my God, last Thanksgiving last year, she sat in the back seat of my boyfriend's SUV and the seatbelt drove her nuts the whole time from Roseville to Wyoming, Minnesota. And I realized I should have had her in the front seat. And she almost had a screaming fit and I couldn't figure out what the reason, and it was a seatbelt. So if you guys are not in tune to what your parent or loved one is going through and their little idiosyncrasies, everyone's going to be miserable. You've got to be in tune what's going on.
Yeah.
And advise others who are with them. Like every week when I would go to visit her, I would notice something that's different. Okay, this is what's going on now. Or this wasn't like this before. What's going on here? And ask them questions. So, and that's another thing. Ask questions of the staff if your loved one is in a facility about what's going on.
Well, and I think you have to think bigger than just the person. You have to look at the environment. So sometimes it could be sound too loud or
loud noises.
Is horrible. It could be lighting and shadows where you just need to shut the blinds because there's a shadow coming in and they can see and feel the shadow from the side, but when they turn, then it's gone because it's a different direction, and then they can get paranoid over that. In the shower, I didn't understand what my mom always loved the water, and all of a sudden she would say the shower hurt. Well, I ended up finding out that as we age, we lose our fat pads, no matter how heavy we are, but the nerves get closer. And so, I went to my mom's nursing home and I said, I want to buy shower heads for all your bathrooms, handheld shower heads, so that they can start from the feet up and, they can decide what mode is going to be best. I like something that's really high powered. Well, maybe a rain shower head, something that's gentler, will make a big, it was life-changing in terms of getting her in and out of the shower and being comfortable. Plus it allows you flexibility where you're not trying to position them under, stand here, do this. You can start from the bottom and go to the top so that they can get used to the water and stuff.
Yeah. I never used it because I end up being almost as wet as she was by the time the darn shower was
gosh,
over.
I used to have to bring a change of clothes.
Yes, I was going to do that. And then we got the pandemic. I was going to buy, here's a word of advice. I was going to buy one of those rubber aprons. I thought, oh, perfect, like the fishermen use. And I started to look on Amazon for one, and then I just got waylaid and never got it. But then the change of clothes would have been a great idea.
Yeah.
Because we would laugh about it. I said, Mom, I'm as wet as you are. What? How did that happen? Weren't you there?
I interviewed one woman who was caring for her husband, and she said they just both went into the shower together. And she said, we took our clothes off in the shower. That's the only way I could get him to do it. And she said it was more work, but it was way easier and way faster, even though she had more laundry.
I was afraid staff would walk in if I tried that trick, and I didn't know how that would look.
Yeah. Well, ladies, we have covered a lot of ground.
I do have to say one thing, though, that what great, as we talk about losing memory, how about remembering what fun we all had, growing up and, in junior high and in high school together, and really some great, great memories.
And great parents that we had.
Great parents. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't have traded them for the world.
Yep. I know I've been putting a scrapbook together for my mom of things that she does remember so she can go through that. And she likes that. I put a little one together of my dad's passing, like with sympathy cards and stuff so that maybe she could remember. But she gets so frustrated because she can't remember that he died. And I said to her, Mom, you were together for so many years that Dad was almost a habit.
Yeah.
And it's going to take you a long time to get out of the habit, and that's sort of how I can't put it into any other category. I don't know what to tell her, but you relive my dad's passing 100 million times. But the funny thing is my dad always whistled for us girls.
Yeah, my dad did too.
Did he? Yeah. So every time and you went flying, there was no, wait a minute.
Yep.
You went. And one time we were at the neighbors, they were getting a new concrete driveway. My dad whistled and I took off and ran right across the wet concrete. But at I call it my dad's funeral, but really it was just us girls and our spouses, and then my two boys and my sister's grandson, and that there's like 15 of us. So it was small. We had to get permission from the church to even do something. But I went up to the pastor and I said, would you mind if I whistled in church? And he goes, no. So at the very end of my eulogy, talking about all my memories of my dad and things, I go, and Daddy, this one's for you. And I whistled his whistle really loud. And it was like, my mom remembers that.
Nice.
So neat.
Yeah.
Well, any last advice that you have for someone who is giving care right now? Just real quick.
Regardless. Yep. And enjoy every moment regardless.
Yep.
I heard two people complaining about life, and today when I was at the store, and the guy was complaining about having to take care of his mother. And now my wife's involved in it. And I thought, dude, if you only knew.
Yeah.
Because you complain, but there are hopefully more good times than bad. And as Bonnie said, ask for help. Yeah. We're here if you need us.
Yep. It's okay. I mean, that's the one thing, ask for help, but it's okay to step back when you've had enough and you can't take it anymore. It's okay to take a little break and ask someone else to come in, and then you come back.
Yep. Yeah.
I've got to learn.
Well, you can't give good care if you're not healthy yourself, if you're not full. And I know there were times where I was just totally drained. And I was like pushing friends away over and over and over. The girls were getting together for coffee once a week and I wouldn't go. And one day they called and I was just angry. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to get them off my back. I'm just going to go. And I said, okay, I'll come for 10 minutes. Like I'm the queen coming to town, rolling out the red carpet. Here she comes. Aren't we privileged? And I showed up and we laughed and cried for 2 hours together. Nice. And I didn't realize until that moment how empty my soul was. And from that point forward, every week I met the girls for coffee because I could care better for my parents.
Yeah. Oh, that's so important, Lori. That's such a good message.
It is. And I know that since Mom died, it's left such a hole in my life, but my heart as well, of course. And it's trying to figure out how to fill that hole. And because I took care of her for so long, and then with my brother, and then when my dad had leukemia for 6 years, taking care of him with that. And then he died in 2004. So it's like I've never had time to take care of myself. And so now I have to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
And that's a whole learning process. And that's where I've gotten my hobby of photography to kind of keep me centered and sane that way.
It's like a whole nother conversation,
See, you need us back,
Taking
Lori.
care
I'm
of all
telling
these
ya.
people for all these years is like, oh my gosh, that one we need a bottle of wine and a good 2 hours.
So, question for you: if listeners want to reach out to you, are you comfortable with that? And if so,
Heck yeah.
how?
Heck yeah.
Okay, so
Yep.
how would you like them to reach out?
Mine is just BS and not just Bonnie Sue, BS Linder at Comcast.net.
And mine is, I'm on Facebook. I've got email. I've got
me too.
Instagram. If you guys want to see some nice pictures, it sounds silly, and I'm not trying to put out there, come look at my pictures, but Instagram for me, you guys, is an outlet. It's my happy place because I just look at photography and that kind of, scenery, that kind of keeps me happy too, aside from watching a lot of TV. But my email address is Marta, Marta, Nova, N as in Nancy, O, V like in Victor, A, 58 @gmail.com. Thanks so much,
Thank you
Lori.
so much. Appreciate
Love
it.
you guys.
Okay.
Take care. Bye,
Take
Bonnie.
care.
Bye. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Well, hi, I'm Lori La Bey, and I wanted to tell you about Alzheimer's Speaks, which is another great podcast. You see, my own mother lived with dementia for 30 years, and I felt lost. Did you know every 3 seconds someone in the world is being diagnosed with dementia? Odds are it's going to hit your families too. We want to help you connect to services, products, tools, research, and stories so you can be prepared. Please subscribe to Alzheimer's Speaks on your favorite podcast platform.